What if I were to tell you that God wants you to hate them?
What?
I know, but it's true.
That can't possibly be.
It is true. I think in the Jewish tradition, God does not expect our unconditional and problem-free, struggle-free faith. God knows that faith is hard work and there will be peaks and valleys. And as long as you're still engaged in that conversation, even if you're in a moment of hating God or being frustrated with God, being angry with God, being sad and disappointed in God, that's far preferable than walking away from the conversation, being indifferent, being apathetic to God.
Wait a second. Did you learn that from the Parsha this week?
In what way?
Well, there's actually a wrestling match in the Parsha this week between God and Jacob.
The very first temple of
The
wrestling.
very first temple of wrestling happens in our Parsha this week.
Wow.
When God is wrestling with Jacob, and he's so nervous about so many things. I mean, Jacob has been through the ringer. He's really had the troubles, let's just say. I mean, he first ran away from Esau, running for his life. Then he finds the love of his life, Rachel, and then all of a sudden they slip him Leah, which we all feel bad for Leah. She's cool too, but still, he has to work not just 7 years, 6 years. He needs to work 12 years, double the years for both Rachel and Leah's hand in marriage. And just as he's just finally made it through that whole time, then he just gets away from Lavan, and then all of a sudden, who shows up? They get reports that Esau is coming, and not just alone. He's coming with all these military men. He's coming to really get the fight on, and it seems like there's going to be yet another wrestling match happening. And then all of a sudden, Jacob goes to sleep, and he has this dream. He has this of struggling with God, of wrestling with God, and he actually wins this wrestling match. And God says to him, because you won this wrestling match, I'm going to name you Yishar'el, the one who struggled with God and survived and thrived. I think that's better, right? Thrive,
Exactly.
right? And thrived. Because that's so much of what it's about. And we are named after that original struggle with God that Jacob had in the midst of all his troubles. He brought that to God. He brought his trepidation. He brought his fear. He brought his anger that this people wouldn't leave him alone, and that why wouldn't God protect him like he had promised, right?
In many ways, that's what it means to be a Jew. It means to be B'nai Yisrael, the children of those who struggle with God. What it means to be a Jew is to struggle with your faith, to struggle with God, but to stay in that conversation.
Exactly.
It's not the ones who walk away from God. It's not the ones who exit the conversation. It's really the ones who stay in and stay in the struggle.
Right. I mean, I always compare it to, God forbid, as a parent, your child is so angry at you. Would you rather, as your parent, your child just stop talking to you completely, cut you off? Or would you rather your child say, I'm going to scream at you because that's all I can do right now is scream at you, but I'm not going to stop talking to you, right? I think as a parent, you'd rather have that. And all the more so God. God never wants us to stop speaking to God. God wants us to continue to be in that relationship, even if that means screaming at God, even if that means saying, I hate you, God, whatever it may be, just as a good parent understands that that's part of the relationship, and that's part of the growth process.
Yeah, so this month, this November, as our avodah, our communal spiritual work is faith and struggling with it, we encourage you, lift up that struggle, hold on to that struggle, lean into it, and be proud of it. It's not something to be ashamed of. If you are struggling with God, you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, it's just as Elie Wiesel said, the opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. And I think that's really true. It's true of people, it's true of humanity, and it's certainly true of God.
100%. So bring your authentic self, bring your authentic relationship to Temple of Aaron. Don't hide it. Bring it into your prayers. Bring it into who you are. God wants, I would say Jewish tradition advises you to bring that whole self into the conversation. Just don't cut it off.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.